Thank you so much. So as Tamsin said, I'm Jen Spencer. I am the Director of Marketing for Allbound. And as she mentioned, Allbound is a cloud-based channel sales and marketing platform. So what does that mean? Essentially, we take all of your amazing content marketing strategies and make them work within a partner or a channel sales environment. So I have a confession to make. I did not grow up wanting to become a marketer. Journalist, playwright, theater critic, novelist, those were the disciplines that piqued my interest. I actually started my career as a high school English and theater arts teacher. And then I took a leap of faith and accepted an education type of role at a nonprofit professional theater company. And that's where I became introduced to the world of marketing. And I worked there for 8 years in the marketing department. By the time I left, I was the director of sales and marketing, overseeing a team of about 20 people and responsible for generating 75% of our organization's overall revenue. Now, when I worked in nonprofit, I often had this notion that we were just sort of playing house, that somewhere in another part of the city, real professionals were out executing amazing marketing campaigns, leveraging finely honed analytics, preparing for every possible setback, and then watching the money just roll right in. I was constantly looking to the A players of corporate America for inspiration. Now, when I left nonprofit, I was a little tired, but I was very hopeful, and I thought, okay, this is my chance. My teeth are cut. Now I'm ready to go learn what it's like to be a great leader in the real world. So guess what I discovered? That nonprofit world where resources are scarce, where every single employee takes on the responsibility of no fewer than 3, where you literally cannot afford to make any mistakes, because failing to meet your goals does not mean that you don't get a bonus, but that your colleagues might lose their jobs, and the constituents you serve will not receive what you promised you would deliver. That world is fierce, but that world is ripe with leadership training. And also, we weren't quite the B team I had made us out to be. So I call on the lessons I learned both as a nonprofit novice and leader as I've navigated a corporate world filled with requests for cross-functional collaboration and company culture shaping. And that's what I'm here to share with you today. 3 of my most valued leadership practices, all learned from the trenches of the nonprofit world. So lesson number 1, be prepared to practice all hands on deck. So for the most part, I consider myself an all-hands-on-deck leader. But every once in a while, I can get a little bit leadership snotty. And when that happens, I'm generally brought back. I bring myself back to a New Year's Eve of about 10 or 11 years ago. So we see at the theater, every New Year's Eve, we would put on a special event, which basically meant we were doing the exact same musical we were already doing, only the audience paid a premium. And during intermission, everyone was welcome to a complimentary glass of champagne. And at the end of the show, the cast led us all in singing Auld Lang Syne. So where the venue where we performed, they used a very particular concession vendor that we were forced to use for these complimentary champagne pours. And just to be clear, I'm using the term champagne extremely loosely. This was bottom of the barrel, headache-inducing cheap sparkling wine, because that's what we could afford. Now, in addition to the champagne, we also had to pay for the stemware. Again, a gross exaggeration, and the setup. But the tables and the linens we required were provided free of charge by the venue. So brilliant me decides, I'm going to forgo the setup. I will drag the tables up the freight elevator myself. I've got about an hour between the curtain rising and intermission. That should do it. Meanwhile, I did opt for the concession vendor to provide the stemware because they assured me they could get the best bulk price on such items. The price was right, so I went for it. So what did I not anticipate? I did not anticipate that the 800 disposable champagne saucers would require assembly. So now, in a matter of minutes, 800 eager theater patrons would be bursting forth for their highly coveted glass of mediocre sparkling wine. So I grabbed a couple of box office agents, and we set to work assembling these cheap plastic glasses. And just when I think it cannot possibly get any worse, in walks my managing director, essentially the CEO of our organization. And I braced myself for him to scold me, for him to tell me what a disaster this was, because it was a disaster. But he didn't say a word. He took off his sport coat and he jumped right into the insanity. All hands on deck. When you as a leader are prepared to jump in at any time, regardless of how messy or mundane the task, this speaks volumes to the employees witnessing your actions. And it's instrumental in helping establish a culture of trust within your organization. Lesson number 2, spend every dollar as if it was your own. So would you spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on an item you really didn't need, only to discard it after less than a year or two? Or when you're shopping for a large ticket item, like a car, do you walk onto the lot, point to the car you want to purchase, and then hand over your credit card and pay the sticker price of the vehicle? You probably don't. And yet so many people do very similar things when they're making purchases on behalf of their company. You see, when you make a purchase with your own hard-earned money, you stop to consider. You stop to research. And sometimes, if it's appropriate, you negotiate. So every year, we used to have to project approximately how many patrons we believe would be coming through our doors to see anywhere from 6 to 8 shows at 2 different venues. And we did this not only to deliver those earned revenue projections, but also to calculate the expenses we would incur as a result of conducting business with this particular number of people. So the thing is, we never truly knew what show might be a runaway hit for us and what might completely bomb. And the only challenge we faced with the runaway hits were the programs. They were costly to produce, they were very limited, and they were really hard to control. So we had this one hit in particular. It was just a smash success. And one day my colleague gets a call from the house manager at the theater, says that we were completely out of programs, and yet we still had a week's worth of packed houses left in the run. Now, we had been coaching the ushers to try to reserve as many of those programs as possible, to pass out one per couple when that was appropriate, or to collect any unwanted programs at the end of the show to use for the following day. So she tells me, and she tells our boss, the director of marketing, I called the program company, it's going to be okay, it's going to cost $5,000, but we'll have enough in time for Thursday's matinee. Now, if we spent $5,000 today, that was $5,000 that we'd have to take from somewhere else. So my boss says, get in the car, let's go. So we did. We got in the car, we went right over to the theater, we went straight to the area where all our materials are stored. We look everywhere, there's no programs. They are all gone. My boss then takes off her heels, stands on a folding chair, and begins to submerge herself into a large recycling dumpster. And just when we think she's completely lost her mind, she begins to unearth boxes and boxes of our nearly pristine theater programs. So what had happened? Had our boxes been confused with another producer's? Had one usher said to the other, we're going to recycle the programs, intending to indicate that they would be reused, but what was heard was, go toss these in the recycling bin? Now, maybe after jumping into that dumpster, my boss would have come up empty-handed. And if that happened, we would have been forced to make some costly decisions at that point. But for me, the greatest takeaway was what my leader showed me exactly how much weight every expense held. And she was unwilling to waste a single cent on any unnecessary expense. Moreover, if she thought her diamond earrings might be in the bottom of that dumpster, she was going to jump in to find them. And the same was true for those theater programs. Lesson number 3, always know if your task is mission critical. There will never be enough hours in the day, let alone enough financial resources to act on every great idea. And I have to remind myself of this often. Now, just like great ideas that happen every day, we also experience what we call fires, little or big issues that spark seemingly from out of nowhere, diverting our attention, demanding our focus, and sapping our energy. And just like great ideas, fires also require our keen assessment. Are they mission critical? So let's get technical. Mission critical refers to any factor of a system, such as a particular piece of equipment, a process, a procedure, or a kind of software, whose failure will result in the failure of business operations. Sounds pretty severe. And yet sometimes it takes experiencing a truly severe mission critical situation to help you see those nice to haves for what they really are. So I used to work in a renovated house, old house that had been renovated into a quaint office space. And when I say quaint, I mean it was very old, it was very finicky. So when the wind picked up, the lights flickered. We occasionally had to use the restroom at the Circle K down the street when that didn't work. When it rained, the building would reek of cat urine from the feral cats who lived underneath. And during monsoon season, the phones would die. So when you're a $6.5 million organization and you're personally responsible for generating 75% of that revenue from ticket sales, and you have a very specific number of seats for a very specific number of performances that are here today and are gone tomorrow, people have got to be able to call your box office. Now, let's all get in our time machine for a second. Let's go back to a time when online ticket sales accounted for maybe, at most, 20% of total purchases. Your patrons, they are not early technology adopters. They want to speak to a box office agent to ensure they are getting the best seats for the price they're willing to pay, and they don't believe the internet is telling them the whole truth. Okay, back to monsoon season. A fantastically wicked storm rolls in. The skies explode with a truly amazing natural light show. The wind blows dust and dirt across town, and the rain seems to wash away the blanket of smog that's been lurking in the valley. And also, your phones die. And there's no such thing as tech support. Your company cannot afford it. So you are tech support. Why? Because if people can't call your box office, then you can't take their money. And if you don't take their money, they're going to go try to give it to someone else. And every seat you don't sell is lost revenue that can never be recouped. And that nearly $4.9 million goal is not going to go down. So by our technical definition, this is the epitome of a mission-critical situation. And in these instances, everything and everyone was immediately deprioritized. Now, regardless of what kind of an exercise or a tool you use, whether it's the Eisenhower method or a similar variation, taking the time to assess each situation that arises will be one step towards A, saving your sanity, and B, ensuring that you stay focused on the right things at the right time. Now, as an added bonus, your staff will witness this navigation. And in leading by example, you will create a culture of mission-critical employees who will thrive with more autonomy and contribute more successfully to your organization. So, from the trenches of the nonprofit theater to the executive team of small business to middle management of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and now today with the enormous responsibility of helping to craft a culture at a thriving tech startup, I have personally found these 3 lessons to be instrumental in shaping who I am as a leader. Thank you.